Hey, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Level Playing Field podcast. We have a great conversation to be had today. So today we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. MLB, the Pirates and Phillies, empty stadiums, what's going on there? Why are the ownership, leaning into all these gambling ads, everything like that, but then, not seeing a response from the fans? Maybe it's because they're putting a bad
Andrew,
product
what
out
they
on the
care
field.
about is who's watching and who's gambling, right? So they got these
Yes.
foreign athletes, the
Yes.
Phillies and the Pirates, a third of their team, 11 out of the 26, over a third of them are foreign athletes. So what they care about are foreigners watching their games and foreigners and Americans gambling on their games, because there's been three so far. There's been three Major League Baseball players indicted for gambling, right? They're pitchers, mostly pitchers. So you can bet on who's going to get a hit, who's going to get a home run, what is it going to be, a single, double, third. So what's happened is, rather than being interested in the fans and the integrity of baseball and the players, what the owners are concerned about are foreigners watching baseball, expanding their market, and then B, people gambling because they're getting a piece. They're actually getting a piece of the advertising. And, I peeked in on the Pirates game. No one was there. And the Phillies game last night. No one's in the stadium. But guess what? Those ads are booming, man. Bet this company, bet that company. And here's the thing. Even the lottery, which is disgusting, is there. The men and women are taking their children to an all-American pastime, an all-American baseball game for what? For what? To enjoy themselves, to get a great experience, right? To be outside. Now they're getting bombarded with these garbage gambling ads, even the lottery. And here's the thing, Andrew, the ads are deceptive. They're deceptive advertising for these gambling entities. Bet $5 and we're going to give you 100. One of them so ridiculous. If you bet $5, they're going to give you 1,000 or 1,500. I mean, it's so deceptive.
Crazy.
It's so addictive, right? So as a governor of the state of Pennsylvania, which I'm running for, and I'm hoping all of you folks that are watching see my passion and my sincerity. I'm truly concerned for the fans, and I'm truly more concerned for the athletes, because it is crazy what's going on in the state of Pennsylvania. So what I can do is I can say, okay, no more advertising, gambling in and around the athletic events and stadiums in the state of Pennsylvania. No more deceptive advertising and gambling ads on ESPN, who owns a sports book and promotes a sports book. And when you watch the stupid stuff, all they do is they put the odds, the line, the over-unders, this, that, what's and whens. And like we talked about, the kids got the phones. Oh, you just get on the phone. Here, yeah, bet $5. Everyone's got $5, right? So they put the $5 in, and you're going to give them $100. No, it's deceptive. You don't get the 100 unless you do this, that, what, and when. Do you understand? But okay, I fell for it. Let me try it. Okay, and they just sucker the kid and got a kid in, or an adult, or senior citizens are being deprived and hooked, and it's disgusting. And me as the governor, one of the first things I'm going to do, Andrew, is I'm going to stop gambling ads in and around sporting events. I'm going to stop gambling ads on television, and that's going to be that. No different than cigarettes. They addicted all of our great military men to cigarettes. Now they're trying to addict our children, our spouses, our parents to gambling, and the athletes. I mean, talk about that, Andrew. What else is going on in the sports world? They're dropping sports, right? They're dropping sports. Let's talk about that.
So yeah. So as we talk about, what can, political figures do? What can, organizations do to encourage, our youth to play sports and to still have an amateur experience where it's like, about community, it's about the life lessons that we learn like throughout like our sporting careers. But perfect example of what you're talking about right here, where money over everything. Arkansas, which is one of the top 25 athletic programs in the country, is dropping tennis. So Arkansas is making, I don't know, big SEC football, SEC basketball, all of that. They are losing money on tennis. So they're like, the heck with it.
So they could play so they could pay their football players more money.
Well, now Well, now
And their
here's the thing:
basketball
is that
players
we
more
are
money.
watching. Okay, so
The European ones,
yes,
by the
so
way, they're
over
going to
the
bring them
last,
over from Europe now. They're going to bring over 24 and
yep.
25-year-old Europeans who are professional basketball players. You see, that's the type of thing, Andrew, I will have no room for, man. I am going to
Hmm.
expel every single foreign visa. When you employ a foreigner, you have to put an ad in all of the newspapers and say, okay, can anybody else fit this job description, right? So I'm going to do something similar in athletics. They're going to have to, if they're going to give a foreigner a scholarship and they're going to steal a Pennsylvania scholarship and they're getting Pennsylvania and federal money from the state at their institutions, they're going to have to make sure that there's not a Pennsylvanian that can fill that particular athletic position or coaching position for that matter before they're going to be able to bring a foreigner in, Andrew. I mean, what do you think of that?
Hmm. Well, yeah, no, I think that's a fantastic way to just break it down. But like, so as I was saying, like the over the last few years, we've watched these, at least the football, money go from, I think it was like documented like 2, 3 years ago, like Ohio State, paid like whatever $13 million for their roster, which was insane back then. Now we're at 30. Next year it's going to be 70. We're going to be up to $100 million a roster like that. Where does that money come from? If you're bringing money in, if it's all all well and good and there's money to be had, great, but there's not. And now you see the first level of cuts that are made, that a program, Arkansas, that isn't the top tier program in the SEC. We're not talking about LSU or Alabama, but Arkansas wants to compete in football and basketball. So what do? They got to find the money somewhere. So they cut something else. They cut women's tennis. They cut men's tennis. But another thing that's going to be coming into college sports, and it's already happening, this isn't a thing that's down the road. This is happening right now out in Utah. Private equity money is coming in. And when private equity money comes in, we all know it. It strips the soul out of whatever they're doing. And they raise ticket prices. They raise all the prices. They take away all the fun, all the tradition, all the things that make sports what they are. The reason we love college sports is because it's been the same for like 75 years. We've been playing these same games, the same teams, the same uniforms. Now private equity comes in. Private equity owns 3 teams in the NFL, 2/3 of the NBA. They own like 20 MLB teams. Like, they own everything. And when you bring that level of money in, they don't care about your tradition. They don't care about anything. They care about
Well,
dollars and cents. So the main thing, let me make my point, and then you can go, then you can answer this question. So as a governor, as someone who is, has some type of quote unquote power over these entities, what do you do to say, like, all right guys, stop. You have to have a CBA. You have to have some level of of structure that says, all right, you can receive money from here, but it has to be a percentage of this. You can do this, but if you receive X number of dollars, the percentage has to go to non-revenue sports. You have to have 31 varsity sports, because like we said before, I think we touched on this last week or a couple shows ago, but Penn State, for example, 31
which is awesome.
varsity sports.
Pitt's right behind them.
They're just
Pitt's right
awesome.
behind them. Pitt's got right
Pitt's right
around
behind them.
29 or 30.
I give a lot of credit to schools that hold that level of varsity athletics, because like Penn State made, like, I think their revenue came out. Their profit was like $200,000, which in an
But
athletic
don't forget,
department
they
that's
paid their
bringing in like
football
200
roster
million a
20,
year.
22, $23 million. Don't forget about
Well,
that.
right. So, but when you look at it from like, all right, we're bringing in $200 million into an athletic department, and you're profiting
Right.
$200,000. That means you're doing a really good job. You're
Absolutely.
giving things to the kids and all that. But on the other side of it, you go to Alabama, where they have 16 varsity sports, and they're profiting $32 million. Well, where do
And
you
they're
think that
paying their
32
football
million is going?
program
You
30
think it's
million
going to
on
go?
top of that.
Exactly.
So
So there's my kind of like my argument is laid out in front of me. So as a governor, as someone who has power over these entities, what do you do to say, all right, this isn't fair. You got to play by a rule, some set of standards, or go to the other conferences and say, We got to
Here's
fix
what you need
this.
to do. First of all, you need to have a governor who understands athletics. Both of the candidates are clueless, right? They have no idea. I don't think they could tie their shoe. Well, I don't want to insult anybody, but listen, you got to be someone who's been there and done that. Athletics are in the fiber of Pennsylvania. Do you understand that? Athletics are
It's
so
important.
important to our culture and to our society for a lot of different reasons, Andrew. The first and foremost is we got to keep the foreigners out of professional sports and college sports, out of amateur sports in this state. Okay, our money to fund these universities has to go to Pennsylvania American athletes first and foremost. The men and the men who are earning billions. It ain't like the old days with Bill Bergey in Philadelphia and Jack Lambert for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You don't know those guys' names, but they were superstar linebackers. I'm a defensive guy. Those guys were earning maybe 40,000 a year, Andrew. You understand? And they lived in Philadelphia and they lived in Pittsburgh, and they were loved by their communities. Their kids were raised in their communities. But here's the thing: they spent their 40, 50 grand in Philadelphia and in Pittsburgh. Right now, these guys are making billions. They're foreigners, and they're just soon, they're here, they're transient. My son, I mentioned on last week's show, one of my son's friends rents to one of the Flyers. He's a foreigner, right? He rents, pays him his rent, lives minimally, and as soon as the season's over, boom, he's out of here, and guess where his money goes? It's not in Pennsylvania banks. Those billions of dollars that these guys are making will make Pennsylvania banks strong. If spending it in our economy will make our local economy strong, you understand? But what do we, and who are they earning that money from? From us, from the citizens of Pennsylvania. I will stop that immediately. This current governor wants to legalize marijuana. No. I want to make sure that Pennsylvania's getting their revenue share from these billions of dollars that these athletes are making and shipping overseas and shipping out of state. The guys from America, that's great. But a lot of them, they don't have their residencies here. Their residencies are in states. My friends, a couple of my friends have done this, are in states where, they have no income tax. Florida, for example, is one of them. But we want to make sure, as a governor, Andrew, I can do that. You hear what I'm saying to you? So I'm going to make sure that there's a full investigation. And, oh, by the way, the visas that are being issued, like I had just mentioned to you, we got to make sure there's not a hockey player in Pennsylvania, a wrestler in Pennsylvania. I mean, all the sports are being affected by it. Even Villanova had a punter who was a 30-year-old from Australia. I mean, what is Villanova doing in this great state? Bringing in an Australian punter. No. Any foreign scholarships that we give aid to those universities are going to be evaluated, and they're going to have put a publication out, and I'm going to stringently review it, Andrew. So that's another thing I can do as a governor. I can make sure that our Pennsylvania athletes are having first dibs at the scholarships that are being offered. Okay, and it's in every single sport, men's and women's, from baseball to volleyball, women's volleyball. It's crazy.
Well, that's a great point.
Let's eliminate property tax in Pennsylvania. Every year, families across our Commonwealth hand over thousands of dollars in property taxes just to remain on land they already own. That's not freedom. Dennis Atiyeh has a plan to eliminate property taxes and help restore the dream of homeownership for Pennsylvania families. No family should live in fear of losing their home while government waste, fraud, and mismanagement continue unchecked. Pennsylvania families deserve relief. They deserve accountability. And they deserve a government that finally puts the people first. This is not another campaign. It's a movement to make real change and take Pennsylvania back for the people.
I'm Dennis Atiyeh, and I approve this message.
Great point you say there, because you stop and you're like, from a surface level, you're like, oh, well, they are bringing in people that fill the team or to do the best or whatever. And you stop and you say again, like, what's the point of all this? The point of higher education is to better the community that you surround and you encompass, right? In part of your society. So what's the point of farming out all these degrees? if you go to Villanova, Villanova is top tier education, right? So if the student population of Villanova is 20% from the Philadelphia, Eastern Pennsylvania, area, then that means 80% of your degrees are going elsewhere when they leave. That's the other thing, is that like the reason, the beauty of all these colleges is the regionality of them. So when you watch, like in Illinois, that makes the Final Four in basketball, and you're like, all right, that's awesome. Like these Midwest kids, they made it. They're great. Like, total like Hoosiers, feel. And then you find out 8 of the kids are from Eastern Europe, and you're like, what are we talking about? This doesn't even...
Not just from Eastern Europe. They're 24, 25-year-olds that are stealing. Listen, our kids in Pennsylvania are 18 and 19 years old when they graduate, right? From high school. To be eligible, you can't be over 19 years old. So how in God's name are they going to compete against 23, 24-year-olds from Europe who are professional athletes, from Canada in hockey? I'm just... the kids in Canada are 21, 22 years old, and they actually play in the Canadian amateur, pro, semi-pro hockey league, and then they come down here. You go to the Mario Lemieux Center out in Pittsburgh, it's packed. I mean, there are buses and buses and buses from all over the country and all over the region coming to play hockey. Those kids are 18, 19 years old when they're done. 70%, the Flyers and the Penguins, 70% of their team are foreigners, and these guys aren't making chump change, right? They're making tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. And what are they doing? They're going back to Europe. They're going back to Canada with their money. No. As governor of the state, I'm going to stop that. First and foremost, I'm going to give first dibs on Pennsylvania athletes have to fill all of the scholarships at all of the universities, first and foremost, okay? And they're here. Trust me, Pennsylvania's got the greatest athletes, and we want to bring our athletics back to the top, not to the bottom. And under the current gubernatorials, governors of this state, over the last 20 years, Pennsylvania athletics has fallen apart, and we've had a foreign invasion. The Philadelphia soccer team had 70% of their team, like their hockey team, are foreigners, for God's sake. We don't have great soccer players in Pennsylvania and in America that can play soccer. No, they're just too lazy to look for them, okay? And they're not permitting them, Andrew, they're not permitting them to be developed, okay?
That's the thing, is that like, it's a trend. Everything's a trend, right? It's a copycat, everything. Now with the internet, everyone's copying everyone else. And as soon as someone, has success, like in Illinois, like Eastern Europe, we got all these kids, like I guarantee next year you're going to see 4 or 5
Penn State's going to do it.
That's going to pop
listen,
up.
Penn State's going to do it. And listen, I will stop that.
Right.
We want Pennsylvania athletes out of Philadelphia, out of Pittsburgh, out of Allentown, out of Scranton, Harrisburg. Come on, man, Lancaster. We got some great basketball players in the state.
It's a trend. So let's make a new trend. Let's find those kids, work a little harder, watch a little more tape, go do the scouting, everything. I can guarantee you that there are 5 kids in Pennsylvania right now that would accept an offer to Penn State to get a D1 scholarship, to have a chance to play in the NCAA tournament, they are dudes when they step on the court.
That's Villanova, that's Temple, that's all of our universities in our state, in wrestling and in football. But how do you compete with a 23 or 24-year-old that's a professional athlete? That's going to change, right? In this state, your eligibility is going to start when you're 19, same as a high school kid. So if you're 24 or 25, you can't be on a team because you're too old. You understand? If you're an 18 or 19-year-old and they fill out an application and they let the locals know, hey, the local Pennsylvania athletes, this is what we're looking for. They go out and recruit Pennsylvania athletes. Okay, they want to bring a foreigner in who's 18 or 19 years old like our kids are, then I'm okay with that. I might accept that. Do you understand? But not a 23 or 24-year-old who's being paid in Europe. And oh, by the way, Andrew, when they come in on these student visas, They're not supposed to be earning money. I'm going to have a full investigation into that. And I promise you, all of the foreign professional athletes are going to get cut in this state. And I'm going to make sure of that. And I guarantee you, our athletics are going to thrive again. We're going to have Pennsylvania. Look, the wrestlers are monsters. And that's my proof to the pudding, to what we're talking about, Andrew. Mm-hmm. Penn State brought in a Japanese junior world champion, right? 19-year-old from Japan, world champion. Mm-hmm. But guess what? He can't break the lineup. Why? Because he's 19.
Can't break the lineup.
Because he's 19. Do you understand?
And that's out of his mouth. I watched an interview with him, and they were asking, like, world champion, you come over here, obviously, you're flying halfway around the world. Obviously, it's different. But you walk in that wrestling room, and, what's going on? What's your first, take back or takeaway? And he goes, there's some dudes here. There are dudes. And he goes, I go in there and I get pinned every day. I get pinned. And he goes, that is the level of competition from world champion in Japan or national champion in Japan to just like the wrestling room of Penn State. He is not in the top 10.
Penn State's the exception to the rule, man. They're monsters, but it's been happening. We had a guy from Cuba wrestle for the heavyweight national championship this year, right? A guy from Cuba. Mm-hmm. He looked like he was 30 years old, right? Cuba via Trinidad to America. No one knew his age. No one knew his passport. No one knew his record. Mm-hmm. But if you looked at the kid, you knew he wasn't no 20, 21, 22-year-old. You understand? He was at least 26, 27 years old. And by the way, he was in his 6th year because of COVID, right? So what I'm saying to you, he made it to the national finals. But if he would have came in here from Cuba at age 19, like this Japanese kid, he would have been nothing. He would have been a nobody at every university. They beat him up. We have great wrestling in the state. Not just great wrestling. From A to Z, every sport, we have tremendous athletes, and I'm going to protect them. I'm going to protect them like they've never been protected before. I'm going to open up opportunities for your children and your grandchildren and your brothers and sisters like they've never seen before. And oh, by the way, I promise you, the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that there's no males, right? There's no males in any women's sports, okay? We had a track and field event that somebody set a record by 3 feet. A male's competing as a female by 3 feet, not by 3 inches. You understand? When someone works real hard and there's records that are established by these beautiful men and women that have these records across our country, and somebody walks in who's a male competing in a female sport and breaks the record by 3 feet, Andrew. 3 feet. That's unacceptable. I mean, just use common sense, men and women. Your listeners, just use common sense. And I know everyone's argument is that it's not happening at a big level, so what's the big deal? No. Every single athletic event is important to those individual athletes, okay? They work real hard. Their parents sacrifice. We've had segments that show people invest in tens of thousands of dollars in club sports, traveling the country. I did it. My wife and I did it with our sons and daughters, right? And then to think that a man can come in and break a record by 3 feet, that's going to stop, period, exclamation point. That's the second thing I'm going to do. But the first thing I'm going to do, Andrew, as governor, I'm going to institute this awesome mineral tax. Now, everybody's talking about the 250 years, all right? Our founding fathers, William Penn, Penn's Woods, Pennsylvania, right? They left us 17 million acres, right? 17 million acres of land is here and is owned by we the people, the citizens of Pennsylvania, right? So what I would tell you is and oh, by the way, they just found, you name selenium, gas, oil, all kind of coals, all kind of different minerals they found underneath these 17 million acres that amounts to trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. So think about that. That money is the citizens. It's our money. So me as the governor, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to sign an executive order, Andrew, issuing the rare earth mineral tax, which is going to take those revenues, those trillions of dollars, and I'm going to pay every single homeowner's, every property owner's taxes out of the mineral tax. Now, what is that going to do? Wow. First and foremost, they're going to get property tax relief, which is awesome. You know, there's been many senior citizens and many people that have lost their properties because they can't afford the taxes. That's never going to happen with me as the governor. No more tax sales, no more sheriff sales. History, throw them in the garbage, right? I am going to institute this mineral tax, and it's going to be an awesome tax, Andrew. The average family, the average property owner is going to save $3,000 a year to $10,000 a year. It's a little bit more like in Bucks County and various wealthier counties, the Fox Chapel area out in Pittsburgh and Cranberry. The property taxes are high. So up, and in some other areas it's lower. But the average tax that we researched was about $3,000 to $10,000. I am going to eliminate all taxes, property taxes in the state of Pennsylvania. Now, what is that going to do? That's going to create affordable housing, Andrew, right? Affordable housing, meaning that someone can now afford a mortgage to finance a home because the average homeowner is going to save $75,000. Listen to this, $75,000 to $250,000 to $250,000 over a 25-year mortgage, Andrew. And that is so awesome, bro. That is so awesome. And there will be affordable housing. And then on top of that, we're going to get an economy, a boom economy like we've never seen before. So I pray that we the people step up, right, like the Minutemen, and write in, vote for Dennis Atiyeh for governor. You guys, you know how to spell my name. It's Dennis, Atiyeh, for governor. And I guarantee you, I will get this state in order from the athletics to the taxes and everything in between. There's so many other issues. But God bless you. Thank you for watching the show. And that's this Tuesday, May 19th. I'm gonna count on you guys to write me in. All right. And you're gonna be blessed by doing it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. And I hope, for those listening on the radio, I hope you kept your car straight there when Dennis said he's going to cut property tax, because I know that's going to get everybody excited. If property taxes disappear, I know that's a growing trend around the country, but this man's going to make it happen. So get out there and vote, and write in our friend Dennis Atiyeh here. You guys know what he stands for, and you can always listen to anything we have to say here on the podcast over at YouTube and Spotify. And thanks again, and like and subscribe everything. And until next time, guys, have a great day.